The morning sun peeked through the blinds of Ambassador June Kim's office in the United Earth Government headquarters. He stood by the window, looking at the busy streets of New Geneva below. 20 years had passed since humans built their first colony beyond the solar system. 20 years of scanning the stars for other life. And finally, they had their answer. "Ambassador Kim, the Security Council is ready for you," said his assistant Minji Park from the doorway. June straightened his formal blue uniform and nodded. "Thank you, Minji. This will be the most important meeting of our lives." The large screens in the council chamber showed the same image from different angles. A massive fleet of unknown ships holding position just beyond Neptune's orbit. They had arrived 3 days ago without warning. Their designs were clearly not human. After centuries of wondering, humanity finally had proof they were not alone. "The alien fleet has sent another message," said Defense Director Tae-Ho Sung as June entered the room. "They call themselves the Galactic Conquered. They say they represent over 300 different species." June took his seat at the long table. "And they want to meet with us?" "Yes," said President Han. "They have requested a diplomatic envoy. They want to welcome humanity to the galactic community." Her expression was cautious. "We need our best representative for this mission, someone with experience handling delicate situations." All eyes turned to June. "Ambassador Kim has negotiated peace in 12 international conflicts," said Foreign Minister Lee. "There is no one better qualified to represent Earth in our first contact with alien life." June felt the weight of this responsibility settle on his shoulders. His entire career had prepared him for this moment. "I accept this duty with honor," he said. "Allow me to select a small team to accompany me." 3 days later, June stood in the launch bay of the UEG vessel Dawn Messenger. The ship was the fastest and most advanced diplomatic vessel Earth had ever built. It carried a crew of 20, including June's hand-picked team of 6 advisors. Minji approached him with a data tablet. "Sir, all systems are ready. The alien fleet has provided docking instructions." "Thank you, Minji. I'm glad you agreed to join this mission." June valued her sharp mind and calm under pressure. At 35, she was younger than most senior diplomatic staff, but had proven herself in negotiations across the solar system. "I wouldn't miss humanity's first meeting with aliens," she said with a small smile. "Though I admit, I'm nervous." "Good," said June. "Only fools feel no fear at the unknown, but we will not let fear control our actions." The ship's captain Daehyun Ryu approached them. "Ambassador, we're ready for departure." "Then let us make history," June replied. As the Dawn Messenger left Earth's orbit, none of its crew knew they were being watched with great interest. Aboard the flagship of the Concorde fleet, Species Counselor Kreth observed the human vessel's approach. His gray skin wrinkled in disgust as he turned to his fellow council members. "Look how quickly they responded. Just as I predicted." Kreth's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "They've developed faster than any species we've encountered." "High Commander." Zelorn nodded his massive horned head. "Their technology is advancing at an alarming rate. Just 200 years ago, they were limited to chemical rockets. Now they have functional faster-than-light travel. And their history," added Science Director Vreen, her tentacles waving in agitation. "So much conflict, so much violence among their own kind. Imagine what they would do to other species once they spread through the galaxy." Kreth moved to the viewing window. "The question before us is simple. Can we risk allowing humans to join the galactic community, or should we act now, while we still hold the advantage?" "The law is clear," said Arbiter Lomax, the oldest member of the council. "All sentient species have the right to petition for membership. Laws can be bent when survival is at stake," Kreth replied smoothly. "I've studied their broadcasts, their entertainment, their military history. Humans are adaptable, aggressive, and clever. A dangerous combination." "What are you suggesting?" asked Zelorn. "We invited them here under the pretense of welcome," Kreth said. "But this is actually their trial, and I believe the verdict is already clear." Back on the Dawn Messenger, June reviewed his notes one final time. He had prepared for every possible scenario he could imagine. "Sir, called Captain Ryu from the bridge. We're approaching the designated meeting point. The Concord has sent a small vessel to guide us to their diplomatic ship. Through the view screen, June watched as an elegant craft with curved lines approached. It was unlike any design humans had created, with sections that seemed to flow like liquid metal. "It's beautiful," whispered Minji beside him. "Begin recording everything," June instructed. "Every word, every image. This is history in the making." BR. Dawn Messenger followed the guide ship toward the center of the alien fleet. June could not help but notice they were being led deeper into formation, surrounded by increasingly larger vessels. "Captain," he said quietly, "are our emergency systems ready?" Captain Ryu nodded slightly. "Yes, Ambassador. The quantum communicator is online, but I'm sure it won't be necessary." "Of course," June agreed. "Just standard protocol." The alien diplomatic vessel was enormous, easily 20 times the size of their own ship. As they docked, June addressed his team one final time. "Remember, we represent not just Earth but all of humanity's potential. We come in peace and with respect. Follow the protocols we established. No matter what these beings look like, or how they behave, show no fear or disgust. We are guests here." The airlock doors opened, revealing a wide corridor lined with lights that pulsed in patterns. 3 aliens waited for them. Tall, slender beings with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like an octopus. "Welcome, humans," said the central figure, its voice translated through a device on its chest. "I am Protocol Officer Thrix. Please follow me to the greeting chamber." June stepped forward first. "Thank you for your welcome. I am Ambassador June Kim of the United Earth Government. We are honored to meet the Galactic Concord." As they walked through the massive ship, June noticed more aliens watching from side passages, different species with wildly different body shapes. Some looked almost like humans with slight differences, while others defied easy description. "How many species did you say are part of the Concord?" Minji asked Thrix. 322 full members, with 47 provisional members," Thrix replied. "Humans would be the newest petitioners should your application be accepted." June caught the odd phrasing. "I was under the impression this meeting was a welcome, not an application process." Thrix's skin flashed a pattern of dark spots. "All things in their proper order, Ambassador. The Council awaits you." They entered a vast chamber with rising tiers of seats, filled with representatives of dozens of species. At the center was a raised platform with 7 larger seats. The beings sitting there wore elaborate garments that marked them as leaders. One of them, with gray skin and 4 eyes, stood as the humans entered. "Ambassador Kim of Earth. I am Counselor Kreth. Welcome to the Judgment Chamber of the Galactic Concord." June felt a chill at the word judgment. This was not the welcome ceremony they had expected. "Judgment Chamber," he repeated carefully. "I believe there may be a translation error. We were invited for diplomatic contact." "There is no error," said Kreth. "All new species must be judged before they can join galactic society. Some pass this test. Others—" He paused meaningfully. "Others are deemed too dangerous to allow." Among the stars, June maintained his composure, though he could feel Minji tense beside him. "We come in peace and friendship. Earth looks forward to learning from the conquered." "That," said Kreth with what might have been a smile, "remains to be seen." The Judgment Chamber fell silent as Ambassador June Kim and his team were directed to stand in the center of the circular floor. Hundreds of alien eyes watched them from the tiered seats. The air felt cold and heavy. "This proceeding will now begin," announced a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin. "I am High Arbiter Vreen. The Galactic Concord welcomes species that bring peace and progress to our community. We also protect our community from those who would bring chaos." June stepped forward. "Respected Arbiter, we come with peaceful intentions. Earth seeks only friendship and knowledge exchange. So say all dangerous species when they first emerge," said Counselor Kreth, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Yet your history tells a different story." Large screens appeared around the chamber. They showed images from Earth's past: wars, weapons, violent conflicts. June recognized scenes from World War II, nuclear tests, and more recent regional conflicts. These are from our past, June explained calmly. Like many species, we have made mistakes. We have learned from them. Minji stepped closer to June and whispered, "Something's wrong. This isn't a normal diplomatic meeting." Captain Ryu moved his hand slowly toward his emergency communicator. One of the aliens noticed and barked an order. Immediately, 6 armed guards surrounded the human delegation. "Your weapons and communication devices will be surrendered," ordered Vreen. "We carry no weapons," June replied, keeping his voice steady. "As for our communicators, they are standard diplomatic equipment." Kreth rose from his seat. "You were brought here under the pretense of welcome because we needed to examine you closely. The real purpose of this gathering is to determine how to handle the human threat." The human team exchanged worried glances as guards moved in and began taking their equipment. "This is a violation of diplomatic protocol," protested June. "Your protocols do not apply here," said Kreth. "For 20 years, we have observed your colonies spreading. We have monitored your communications. We have analyzed your development rate." He pointed a long finger at June. "No species in conquered history has advanced from primitive radio signals to faster-than-light travel in such a short time." Another council member, a being with features like a large insect, added, "Human adaptability is also concerning. Your species can survive in environments that would kill most others. You recover from injuries that would be fatal to many. These traits make you unpredictable." June tried to maintain diplomatic composure despite the growing tension. "These qualities have helped us survive on our world. They do not make us a threat to others." "We have seen enough," declared Vreen. "The council will now vote on the human question." The guards forced the human delegation into a small area surrounded by an energy field. June could see his team's growing fear, but he kept his expression calm. "Stay together," he told them quietly. "This is unexpected but not necessarily hostile. Many cultures have different customs for first contact." Minji looked unconvinced. "Sir, they took our quantum communicator. If something happens to us, Earth won't know." Across the room, the council members were touching glowing panels before them. A display showed a tally of votes. As June watched, the count finished. The result unanimous. Vreen stood again. "The Galactic Concord has reached its decision. Humanity has been judged too dangerous to join the galactic community." June stepped forward, pressing against the energy barrier. "We request the opportunity to address these concerns. This decision seems hasty and based on incomplete information." "The evidence is sufficient," said Kreth. "Humans develop technology too rapidly. Your biological adaptability makes you too unpredictable. Your history shows too much aggression." "What does this mean for Earth?" asked June, fighting to keep his voice steady. "A quarantine fleet will ensure Earth remains isolated until a final solution is determined," explained Vreen. "As for this delegation," he paused. "The Council has decided that an example must be made." The meaning became clear as more armed guards entered the chamber. "You cannot be serious," said June, his diplomatic mask finally cracking. "We came in peace. We have committed no crime against your Concord." "Your existence is the crime," hissed Kreth. "Your potential is the threat." Captain Ryu suddenly lunged forward, breaking through the surprised guards. He reached inside his uniform and pulled out a small device, a backup quantum communicator that had escaped detection. "Minji, catch," he shouted, throwing the device toward her as guards tackled him to the floor. Minji caught the small device and immediately activated it. "Emergency Protocol Alpha. Earth, this is the diplomatic mission. We are being held against our will. They plan to execute us and blockade Earth. The Galactic Concord considers humanity a threat. This is not a drill. Repeat." A guard fired an energy weapon. The beam struck Minji in the shoulder and she fell. The communicator skittered across the floor, still transmitting. "Destroy that device," shouted Kreth. In the chaos, June helped Minji to her feet. "Did the message send?" he asked urgently. She nodded through her pain. Full transmission. Earth received it. A guard crushed the communicator under his foot, but it was too late. The damage is done, said Vreen. Accelerate the timeline. The execution will happen now. The human delegation was forced to their knees in the center of the chamber. Kreth approached June with contempt in his 4 eyes. Your species will never threaten the established order of the galaxy, he said. June looked directly at him. You've made a terrible mistake. Earth only wanted peace. Your primitive planet can do nothing against our technology, scoffed Kreth. June's expression became strangely calm. There's something you should understand about humans. We never start fights. His voice grew stronger, meant to carry to the recording devices around the room. We finish them. Vreen signaled to the guards. Proceed with the execution. The guards raised their weapons. The energy field around the humans changed color, now preventing any movement. Any final statement? For the record? Asked Vreen, following the formal procedure. June straightened as much as the field would allow. He looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien representatives watching this injustice. Remember this day, he said clearly. Remember that we came in peace and you responded with violence. Remember that we offered friendship and you chose fear. He paused. Most importantly, remember that Earth now knows what you've done. Whatever happens next, you brought it on yourselves. Enough, said Kreth. Complete the sentence. The guards fired their weapons. Beams of energy struck each member of the human delegation. There was no blood, just a brief flash of light as their bodies disintegrated. In moments, there was nothing left of Ambassador June Kim or his team. Silence filled the chamber. Then Vreen spoke formally. Let the record show that justice has been served. The human threat has been contained. An aide approached Kreth. Counselor, about the communication device the humans activated. A pointless gesture, said Kreth, dismissively. By the time their message reaches Earth and they decide how to respond, our quarantine fleet will be in place. Their primitive weapons cannot possibly threaten us. But sir, our analysis shows their quantum technology is more advanced than we expected. The message was received instantly. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Kreth's face. Impossible. They couldn't have mastered quantum communication so quickly. In the command center of the Concord flagship, alarms suddenly began to sound. Counselor Kreth is needed urgently, came a voice over the communication system. We're detecting unusual energy readings throughout the human solar system. Across the vast distance of space, Earth had received Minji's final message, and Earth had already begun to respond. Defense Admiral Hyunwoo Lee sat motionless in the dimly lit Situation Room beneath Mount Cheyenne. The quantum message from Minji Park had arrived 17 minutes ago. For 17 minutes, the highest-ranking officials of the United Earth government had listened, discussed, and decided. Are we in agreement? Asked President Han, her face grave on the central screen. She was speaking from the emergency bunker beneath New Geneva. The 12 faces on the surrounding screens all nodded. Then may God have mercy on our souls, the President said, because we will show none to those who have murdered our people. Admiral Lee, you have authorization to activate Thunderclap. Admiral Lee took a deep breath. Understood, Madam President. Authorization code verified. He pressed his palm against the biometric scanner. Computer, this is Admiral Hyunwoo Lee. Authorization Lima Echo Echo 759. Activate Operation Thunderclap. The computer responded in a calm voice. Operation Thunderclap activated. Deploying all assets. Captain Do-Young Choi approached, the Admiral's chair with a tablet. Sir, all stealth platforms are powering up. Estimated time to full deployment is 3 minutes. Admiral Lee nodded. For 10 years, Earth had been preparing for this possibility. While publicly pursuing peaceful expansion and diplomatic readiness, the military had quietly developed and deployed their greatest secret, a network of stealth weapon platforms hidden throughout the solar system. Status of the alien fleet? Lee asked. Still in the same position beyond Neptune's orbit, replied Do-Young. They show no signs of moving toward Earth yet. They don't know we received the warning. On the main screen, a map of the solar system appeared. Small blue dots began lighting up everywhere. In the Kuiper belt, throughout the asteroid belt, in high orbit around every planet and even hiding in the rings of Saturn. Over 2,000 hidden platforms, each equipped with Earth's most advanced weapons. Platform activation at 60%, reported an officer from the tactical station. Admiral Lee stood and walked to the center of the room. What was the final count? How many of our people were on that diplomatic mission? 27, sir, said Do-young quietly, including Ambassador Kim. Lee's face hardened. Then 27 of their ships will be destroyed for each of ours. The rest will be disabled and captured. Sir, said a young officer at the communications station, we're receiving signals from the Mars and Europa colonies. They're asking if they should evacuate. No evacuations, Lee ordered. Lee. Tell them to continue normal operations. This will be over before any danger reaches them. On the main display, the activation counter reached 100%. All platforms were now online and awaiting commands. Sir, the alien fleet is showing signs of movement, reported Do-young. They appear to be spreading out, possibly preparing to head toward Earth. Admiral Lee nodded. They think they have time. They believe their technology is far superior to ours. He turned to address the entire command center. They have no idea what's coming. He pressed a button on his command console. This is Admiral Hyun-woo Lee to all platform commanders. You have your targets. Execute deployment pattern Delta, weapons free on my mark. The blue dots on the display began to move, repositioning themselves in a carefully planned pattern. Earth had spent years studying the alien ships from a distance, identifying what appeared to be key systems and vulnerabilities. Platforms in position, announced the tactical officer. Signal the President, ordered Lee. Final authorization required. President Han's face reappeared on the central screen. The aliens executed our people without provocation, Admiral. They plan to imprison our entire species. Make them regret that decision. Yes, Madam President. Lee raised his hand and brought it down firmly. All platforms, weapons free. Deploy the Spear of Dawn. Across the solar system, the hidden platforms activated their main weapons, quantum displacement technology. Unlike the communicators that could transmit information instantly across any distance, these larger systems could transport physical objects. It was technology that humanity had developed but kept hidden, knowing it might one day be their greatest advantage. In the void of space between Neptune and Uranus, the Concorde fleet suddenly found themselves surrounded by thousands of previously undetectable human weapon platforms, all within lethal range. Aboard the Concorde flagship, alarms blared as sensors detected the sudden appearance of unknown objects all around them. What is happening? Demanded Counselor Kreth, rushing into the command center. Unknown human devices, reported the sensor officer, his tentacles waving in agitation. They appeared from nowhere. They've surrounded the entire fleet. Impossible, said Kreth. Their technology cannot. He was interrupted by a transmission that appeared on every screen in the fleet simultaneously. Admiral Hyun-woo Lee's stern face looked out at them. This is Admiral Hyun-woo Lee of Earth Defense. You have executed our diplomatic envoy under false pretenses, his message stated clearly. Your fleet is now completely surrounded. Surrender, or be destroyed. On the conquered flagship, Supreme Commander Zlarn hissed in anger. They bluff. No primitive species could threaten our fleet. Sir, said a junior officer, the human devices are emitting energy signatures we've never seen before. Power up weapons, ordered Zlarn. Target those devices and... He never finished his sentence. 5 seconds after Admiral Lee's message, 20% of the Concorde fleet disappeared in precisely targeted quantum displacement events. The ships were not destroyed, but instantly transported into orbit around distant stars, completely disabled. On Earth, Admiral Lee watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. That was just a demonstration, he transmitted to the remaining Concorde ships. The next response won't be so gentle. In the command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, Captain Do-young approached the Admiral. Sir, we've gained access to their communication networks. We're broadcasting the recording of Ambassador Kim's execution to every member world of their Concord. Lee nodded. Good. Let the entire galaxy see what they did. The Concord fleet commanders were in chaos. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for this level of technological capability from a species they had dismissed as primitive. We've lost contact with over 300 ships, reported a frantic officer to Commander Zlarn. They've been scattered across dozens of star systems. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Kreth. They shouldn't have this technology. On the main screen, Admiral Lee's face appeared again. Your remaining ships are now transmitting the truth of your actions to every member world of your Concord. We've accessed your communication networks. On hundreds of worlds across the galaxy, the recorded images of Ambassador Kim's execution and the Concord's plans for Earth began playing across every information channel. The reaction was immediate. Many member species, long unhappy with Arvani dominance, immediately denounced the execution and treatment of the human delegation. Several sent urgent messages offering separate diplomatic relations with Earth. We've lost control of the narrative, Kreth whispered in horror. Commander Zlarn stared at the tactical display showing the human weapon platforms surrounding what remained of his fleet. Each platform was targeted on a specific ship. There would be no escape. Sir, said his second-in-command. What are your orders? Zlarn closed his eyes briefly. Signal our surrender. On Earth, Admiral Lee received the transmission. The Concord fleet has surrendered, sir. Lee nodded slowly. Transport their leadership to the lunar base for holding. The Arvani delegation will be brought to Earth for negotiations. He looked around at the officers in the command center, their faces showing a mixture of triumph and sorrow. 27 of our people died today, he said. But their sacrifice saved our entire species from subjugation. The president's face appeared on the main screen again. Admiral Lee, the Security Council has appointed Jiwoo Kang as our new representative. She was Ambassador Kim's former protege. A good choice, Lee agreed. When will negotiations begin? As soon as the Arvani delegation arrives, said the president. They will face justice for what they've done. In just under 20 minutes since receiving Minji's final warning, Earth had defeated a technologically advanced alien fleet and changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Make sure all our colonies know they're safe, Lee ordered, and prepare a message to send to those member worlds that have reached out to us. It's time to build a new relationship with the galaxy, one based on mutual respect, not fear, He spoke. The first captured Arvani ships were being transported into Earth orbit under heavy guard. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity was not to be trifled with. Supreme Commander Zlarn stood on the bridge of his crippled flagship, watching as human vessels surrounded his remaining fleet. How had it come to this? Just hours ago, the Galactic Concord held absolute power. They had executed humans as a warning to Earth. Now, his fleet was at their mercy. Supreme Commander, his communications officer called. The humans are sending new instructions. Zlarn stared at the message on his screen. The humans wanted him and Counselor Kreth to transport to a place called Geneva on Earth. They were expected to participate in negotiations. Negotiations? Hissed Kreth, his four eyes blinking rapidly in agitation. They cannot dictate terms to the Galactic Concord. We represent 300 species. Zlarn turned to the counselor. You still do not understand what has happened, do you? We have lost. Their technology exceeds our own in ways we never imagined. Look around you. Outside the viewports, Zlarn could see the human weapon platform still targeting each of his ships. With a single command, the humans could send his entire fleet to the far reaches of the galaxy, or worse. We have no choice, Zlarn said firmly. We will go to Earth. 4 hours later, a small transport vessel landed at the new Geneva spaceport. It was the first alien craft to ever touch down on Earth soil. A heavy military presence surrounded the landing area. News cameras broadcast the historic moment to billions of humans around the world. Zlarn and Kreth stepped out into Earth's sunlight, accompanied by a small delegation of Concord officials. They were immediately surrounded by armed human soldiers. Admiral Lee stood waiting, his face showing no emotion. I am Admiral Hyunwoo Lee. You will be escorted to the United Earth Government headquarters for negotiations. Kreth looked around at the human city. Your atmosphere is thicker than we are accustomed to. You should have considered that before planning to quarantine our planet, Admiral Lee replied coldly. The alien delegation was led to a convoy of vehicles. As they drove through the city, Zlarn observed the human inhabitants watching from sidewalks and buildings. Their faces showed a mix of curiosity and anger. They know what we did, he said quietly to Kreth. We acted to protect the galaxy. Kreth replied, but his voice lacked conviction. At the United Earth Government headquarters, the aliens were brought to a large conference room. President Han sat at the head of a long table, flanked by military and government officials. At her right hand sat a younger woman with a serious expression. I am President Han of the United Earth Government, she began formally. This is Ji-Woo Kang, our new diplomatic representative, replacing Ambassador Kim, who was executed under your orders. Ji-Woo Kang looked directly at the aliens, her gaze unwavering. She had been Jun Kim's student and closest colleague for years. Now she carried the weight of his legacy. Before we begin formal negotiations, Ji-Woo said, her voice steady, I believe we should clarify our current situation. A holographic display activated in the center of the table, showing the status of the Concorde fleet. Over 20% had been displaced to distant star systems. The rest remained surrounded by Earth's weapon platforms. Your fleet is disabled, Ji-Woo continued. We have broadcast the recording of Ambassador Kim's execution to every member world of your Concorde. In the past 8 hours, we have received messages from 73 species within your organization, all condemning your actions and offering separate relations with Earth. Counselor Kreth shifted uncomfortably. The Concorde has maintained galactic peace for over 2,000 years. This disruption, interrupted Admiral Lee, is entirely of your own making. You murdered our diplomats without provocation. You planned to imprison our entire species. President Han raised her hand for silence. The question before us now is simple. What happens next? Zlarn looked at the humans gathered around the table. What do you want? Reparations? Territory? Ji-Woo shook her head. We want justice and security. Ambassador Kim believed in peaceful coexistence. His last act was to ensure Earth knew what happened. He did not die for revenge. You claimed we were too dangerous to join your community, Ji-Woo continued. Perhaps you were right, but for the wrong reasons. We don't seek conquest. We seek fairness. On the holographic display, new images appeared. Messages from across the galaxy. Many showed alien representatives denouncing the Concorde leadership. Others showed demonstrations on distant worlds with aliens holding images of Ambassador Kim and his team. Your Concorde is fracturing, said Admiral Lee. Many of your member species have been waiting for an opportunity to break free from Arvani dominance. Kreth's skin turned a paler shade of gray. The Arvani have guided the Concorde wisely for generations. Through fear and the threat of force, Ji-Woo replied. The same approach you tried to use with us. How did that work out? President Han stood. Here are our terms. The Galactic Concorde in its current form will be dissolved. A new interstellar organization will be formed with equal representation for all species, including Earth. Impossible, Kreth exclaimed. The power structure has been established for millennia. Your power structure executed our ambassador, Ji-Woo said sharply. It forfeited its right to exist. Admiral Lee added, We have already begun communicating with other member species. Many are eager for change. Zlarn looked thoughtful. And if we refuse these terms? In response, Admiral Lee touched a control panel. The holographic display showed one of the Concorde ships being instantly transported from near Neptune to orbit around a distant star. That was another demonstration, Lee said. We can remove your entire fleet from this galaxy if necessary, but we would prefer a peaceful solution. Zlarn exchanged glances with his delegation. What guarantees would we have for our safety and sovereignty? The same guarantees every species would have under the new arrangement, Ji-Woo answered. Equal protection, equal voice, equal rights. As the negotiations continued into the night, news spread throughout the galaxy. The mighty Galactic Concorde, which had ruled space for thousands of years, was on the verge of transformation because of one small, young species that refused to be subjugated. Captain Do-young entered the conference room with an urgent report for Admiral Lee. "Sir, we've received messages from over 150 member worlds of the Conquered. They're requesting to send representatives to Earth immediately." Lee nodded. "Prepare to receive them." Jiwoo turned to Zlarn and Kreth. "You see? The galaxy was ready for change. It just needed a catalyst." Kreth's 4 eyes blinked slowly as realization dawned. "You've accomplished in one day what rebellious factions have tried for centuries." "Because we did not seek to conquer," Jiwoo explained. "We only revealed the truth." President Han addressed the alien delegation again. "Let me be clear. Earth does not want to replace the Arvani as galactic rulers. We want to build something better, a true cooperative, where all voices matter." Outside, the conference room, screens showed scenes from around the world. Humans gathered in cities and towns watching the historic negotiations. Many held pictures of Ambassador Kim and his team. Their sacrifice had united humanity like never before. Zlarn looked at the images, then turned to Jiwoo. "I think I understand now. Your weapons are powerful, but your real strength lies elsewhere." "Oh?" Jiwoo raised an eyebrow. "Your adaptability," said Zlarn. "We feared it would make you dangerous. Instead, it has shown you a better path forward than conquest." As dawn broke over New Geneva, the outlines of a new galactic order began to take shape. The negotiations would continue for weeks as representatives from hundreds of worlds arrived on Earth. But the fundamental agreement was reached that first night. The old concord would end, and something new would rise in its place. Admiral Lee stood by a window watching the sunrise. Captain Do-young joined him. "Sir, was this outcome part of Operation Thunderclap all along?" Do-young asked quietly. Lee shook his head. "No. Thunderclap was designed to protect Earth at all costs. He gestured to the conference room where Jiwoo continued leading discussions with the aliens. "This is Ambassador Kim's legacy. He always believed different species could find common ground. Even after they killed him. Especially then," said Lee. "His final message forced us to act, but it also showed us how to lead, not through fear, but through justice." As news of the negotiations spread throughout human colonies and across alien worlds, a new era began. Earth had entered the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as reformers, and it had all started with a single quantum message and 17 minutes of decisive action. 6 months had passed since the day the Galactic Concord executed Ambassador June Kim and his team. On a clear morning in New Geneva, thousands gathered for the opening ceremony of the June Kim Memorial Hall. The massive building gleamed in the sunlight, its architecture blending human design with elements from a dozen alien worlds. Inside the Grand Assembly Chamber, representatives from over 200 galactic species sat in curved rows. Unlike the old Concord Chamber with its hierarchical tiers, this hall was designed as a perfect circle, with every seat equal in height and distance from the center. Jiwoo Kang stood at the podium, looking out at the diverse gathering. 6 months of intense diplomacy had led to this moment, the formal signing of the Terran Accords and the establishment of the Interstellar Cooperative. "Today we honor the memory of Ambassador June Kim and his team," Jiwoo began. "They traveled among the stars seeking friendship. Their sacrifice revealed a truth that had been hidden for too long, that the old order of the galaxy was built on fear rather than respect." In the front row, President Han nodded solemnly. Beside her sat Admiral Lee, now retired from active service but still serving as an advisor to Earth's Defense Council. "My mentor believed in peaceful coexistence," Jiwoo continued. "His execution was meant to teach humanity a lesson in submission. Instead, it taught the galaxy a lesson about us. We don't seek dominance, but we will never accept tyranny." From his seat among the Earth delegation, Captain Do-young looked around the chamber. Species of all shapes, sizes, and biological compositions had gathered here. Some breathed different atmospheres contained in special environmental suits. Others had physical forms so strange they barely seemed real, yet all were united in this historic moment. The Terran Accords before you today establish a new framework for galactic relations, said Jiwoo. Every species, regardless of their technology level or population size, will have equal representation in the Cooperative Council. Disputes will be resolved through structured mediation, not force. Knowledge and resources will be shared for mutual benefit. In the section reserved for the former conquered leadership, Councillor Kreth listened with his 4 eyes downcast. The past 6 months had been humbling for the Arvani. Their 1,000-year dominance had ended overnight. Yet they too had been invited to join the new cooperative as equals. Some questioned whether humans should lead this new organization. Jiwoo acknowledged. We decline that honor. The Interstellar Cooperative will have a rotating leadership with each member species serving a limited term. On the massive screens around the chamber, images appeared of orbital shipyards around Earth. The first joint human-alien vessels were under construction, incorporating the quantum displacement technology that had so shocked the galaxy. Under the condition that no species will use it for unprovoked aggression, humanity will share its advancements freely, Jiwoo announced. We believe that security comes not from hoarding knowledge, but from ensuring all have access to it. A murmur of approval spread through the chamber. This approach was revolutionary. The old Concord had maintained power by keeping advanced technology in the hands of a select few species. The first project of the cooperative will be to retrieve the Concord ships we displaced during our defensive action, Jiwoo continued. No, crew members were harmed, but they remain stranded in distant systems. Together we will bring them home. After the speech, the formal signing began. One by one, representatives approached the center of the chamber to place their mark on the Terran Accords. Each used their own cultural method of affirmation. Some pressed handprints, others used electronic signatures, and a few species used ritual objects to stamp the document. When it was Earth's turn, President Han stepped forward. Before signing, she placed a small hologram projector on the table. It displayed the images of Ambassador Kim and his team, all 27 humans who had lost their lives. We sign in their memory, she said, her voice steady despite her emotion. Their sacrifice made this moment possible. After the ceremony, a reception was held in the Memorial Hall's gardens. Species that could safely interact mingled together, trying each other's food and drink, sharing stories and traditions. Admiral Lee stood apart from the crowds, looking up at the evening sky. Captain Do-young joined him, carrying 2 glasses. Quite a change from 6 months ago, Do-young observed, handing 1 glass to the Admiral. Lee nodded. Hard to believe it started with 17 minutes of crisis response. Do you ever wonder if we did the right thing? Asked Do-young. We could have used our technology to dominate the galaxy, not just defend ourselves. That would have made us exactly what they feared, Lee replied. June understood that. Even in his final message, he was trying to show us a better path. Across the garden, Jiwoo was engaged in conversation with a group of representatives from worlds that had previously been marginalized under conquered rule. Their excitement was visible as they discussed new trade routes and cultural exchanges now possible under the cooperative framework. Ambassador Kang has done remarkable work, said Do-young. I heard over 50 new species have applied to join the cooperative already, ones that were rejected by the old conquered. Lee smiled slightly. She learned from the best. Above them, ships from 100 worlds performed a synchronized light display in Earth's atmosphere, a show of respect for the smallest, youngest, and now most respected member of the galactic community. In his home in Seoul, an elderly man watched the ceremony on his view screen. He had been June Kim's mentor decades ago when June was just a young diplomat. Beside the old man sat a small memorial shrine with June's picture. You would be proud, my friend, the old man whispered. Your final mission was a success after all. Back at the memorial hall as the evening drew to a close, Councillor Kreth approached Jiwoo. The Arvani diplomat seemed smaller somehow, his once imperious bearing replaced by a more thoughtful demeanor. Representative Kang, he said formally. I wish to convey something to you. Jiwoo regarded him carefully. Yes, Counselor. In our culture, we rarely admit errors. It is seen as a weakness. Kreth's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. But I have come to understand that the true weakness was our fear of your species. We were wrong about humans. How so? Asked Jiwoo. We feared your adaptability would make you conquerors. Instead, it has made you innovators. We feared your speed of development would make you destructive. Instead, it has made you problem solvers. Kreth paused. I regret the actions taken against Ambassador Kim and his team. Jiwoo was silent for a moment. Those actions cannot be undone. But we can honor their memory by building something better. That is why the Arvani have voted to join the cooperative, said Kreth. We have much to learn from humans about change. As night fell, the memorial hall was illuminated from within, casting light out into the darkness. At its center, a simple monument displayed the names of the 27 humans who had died, bringing this new era into being. In orbit above Earth, the combined fleet of the new interstellar cooperative maintained a protective watch. Many of the ships now incorporated human quantum technology, making them faster and more effective than ever before. But unlike the old Concord fleet, they were not there to intimidate. They were there to protect all species equally. Earth's potential had been recognized, not through conquest, but through principles, just as Ambassador Kim would have wanted. In his retirement home overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Lee raised a glass to the night sky. To June Kim, he said softly, the man who won the peace. Around the world, in homes and gathering places, humans celebrated their new place in the galaxy, and across the stars hundreds of species looked toward Earth with new respect and friendship. The galaxy had executed a human envoy, but in doing so, it had changed itself forever.